Welcome to The Woman in the Work. I'm your host, Holly Lambrecht, and I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is about the relationship between the woman we're becoming and the work we're building in the world. Because behind every business, every dream, and every big decision, there's quieter work happening within us too. And here, we talk about both. Okay, so Stephanie does this thing every month. She is the owner and founder of Small Business Sister Circle, and we have Coffee and Connection every month. A group of us in membership, we get together, we talk about business, we talk about life, we check in with each other, and we usually have some kind of education. July tends to be that month that we will actually do some kind of business audit for middle of the year. Last July at our Coffee and Connection, she had all of us write something down on a Post-it, a goal, a decision, something that we were working towards. And then she took them all and she put them into a disco ball planter that she had, and she took them home and she decided that she was going to love on them for the next year. And honestly, I had forgot that I even wrote one until this month, now July of 2026, a full year later. And we come into the Coffee and Connection and I get a message from her and she says, "Hey, leave room. I'm bringing my blue felt board. I have a surprise for today." And I was like, okay, no worries. And in she walks, puts up the board, and she pulls out this stack of Post-it notes. And she hands me mine, and it's in my handwriting. It says, "Reduce my salon hours to allow for more focus on Stillroot and Sister Circle at the end of 2025. I wrote that a whole year ago in that same room with no idea what the next 12 months was going to hold. I'm sitting there in this room full of women, all also reading their own handwriting back to themselves. And I don't even really remember reading it. I just remember that was the season where I was still doing hair. I was still holding on to that schedule because it felt safe, because it was the money that I knew was coming in. And the thoughts around letting that go was way too big of a leap in that season that I was in. But I had wrote myself a deadline. It was the end of 2025. And as I read it, I was thinking, here I am, halfway through 2026, and it already happened. And I wasn't even thinking about that note when I did it. I just did it because it was time to do it. And this connects to something that I said a couple episodes ago that I didn't really finish saying. In episode 10, I talked about 3 good things and then the bad thing that hits. That rule that my body's been running with for my whole life. And by the end of that one, I said that I was done proving. That I just had to decide that I was worth it. And I meant that. But the week after, I said yes to 4 new projects. And the same week, Stephanie hands me this note, and the old voice came back. However, it was a different one this time. Not who do you think you are to want this? More of, who do you think you are to actually have it? I thought that I had already did this work. I thought I already met her, the version of me that doesn't have to earn the big dreams. Turns out that was just the decision, but actually living inside of it, that's a whole different muscle that has to keep being flexed. I've talked before about being super loud as a kid, walking into a room and everyone knowing that I was there. And then people started saying things, right? Toning it down, your voice carries, and my body learned to take up less space. I thought episode 2 and episode 6 had closed that loop for me. But loud isn't just a volume, loud is also being visible in a way that you can't take back. So I had 4 projects come in. That's my name on more things. Growing Stillroot and being the operational back end for Sister Circle at the same time. That's a whole different kind of taking up space. And I can feel some of those old parts of me look at that and go, wait, is this allowed? Can we take up this much space? And I think that's the reason I held on to the salon for so long. Not just because of the money. I kept one foot in something safe because that couldn't get too big. I was always just going to be a stylist there. So I couldn't get too much. No one was going to look at me and think that I was too big or too much. I was just always going to be a stylist. So reading that Post-it note in that room this week, at first didn't feel like pride. It felt like meeting someone. Like the version of me who wrote it didn't know how any of this would actually go. Like Sister Circle wasn't what it is now with additional chapters and the growth that it's had. She didn't have the 4 yeses waiting in her inbox. She just knew that she couldn't keep doing both. And she wrote it down and let it go. Thank you for writing that down when you didn't have any proof that it would work out at all. Because that's the part that no one tells you. The decision always comes before the evidence. You don't get the 4 yeses first and then decide that you're allowed to want them. You decide you're worth them while you're still cutting hair on a Tuesday with no idea if any of this is going to pan out. So what's being asked of me right now isn't proving that I deserve this. It's just letting myself actually be in it without pulling back to stay safe. It's not a becoming her. It's just staying with her. If you're holding this Post-it note of your own, maybe a decision from a year ago or 2 years ago, that you're only now living inside of, let that land for a second. You didn't know that it would work out. but you did it anyways. And if some part of you is still bracing, even with the good things right in front of you, that's not ingratitude. That's just the old rule still running. And remember that you are allowed to update that. You're allowed to be so loud about this one. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate your wins along the way, the big ones and the small ones. And if something this week truly hit you, I would love to hear from you. Take a follow on Instagram at The Woman in the Work, and don't hesitate to reach out because I genuinely read every message, and I hope you have just an amazing week. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, the work you're doing in the world is always connected to the work happening within you. And here, we take care of both the woman and the work. I'll see you in the next one.